It might have been John Laurinaitis. It's anybody's guess. But there's been a lot of history behind the general manager role. It's been going on for over 10 years, as I mentioned here at the top of the show. Over 10 years, we have seen the general manager position be done on WWE television, allowing Vince McMahon to take a break from having to appear on both Raw and SmackDown on a weekly basis like he did for the first time in 1999 when he became not only an on-screen performer, but an in-ring performer too. So it gives Vince McMahon a bit of a reprieve. We don't need to see McMahon every week on Raw. We used to see McMahon every week. So now with the general manager position being implemented, that allows the McMahons to be able to take a break off television. Shane McMahon leaves the company, does something else. I believe he's doing something with UFC or some other promotion out there. Best of luck to him. We haven't seen a McMahon for a while on WWE television. The last McMahon we saw, I believe, was an interaction between Punk and Stephanie McMahon at 2011 SummerSlam. Other than that, we didn't see anything in regards to McMahon, and it's been a while. So I really think that it gives the McMahon family a bit of a reprieve having a general manager on both Raw and SmackDown, and now for the first time in 10 years, one general manager is coming to either Raw or SmackDown. And I think eventually what we'll see are the championships unifying. We'll get one champion, something we've been demanding for years. A lot of stuff could potentially happen because of the general manager role being unified as just one general manager for both Raw and SmackDown. I think the competition between the brands has been eliminated for the first time in a number of years. We're seeing both brands get along. No competition. They get rid of the Raw versus SmackDown video game title. We don't see the bragging rights pay-per-view on the pay-per-view calendar anymore. I think there were only 2 bragging right pay-per-views. A lot of stuff has happened. There's no competition between the brands, and the reason the brands were split, of course, was to give young superstars the chance to main event pay-per-views and main event shows like WrestleMania and Survivor Series. Edge is someone who I use as a perfect example of this. If it hadn't been for the brand extension, Edge probably would have never gotten a chance to main event shows against people like Triple H and The Rock. But because of the brand extension, The Undertaker was one guy who alluded to this. Edge was given the chance to become a main event superstar and go on to hold up 31 championships in his prestigious wrestling career. Jericho is just one championship behind him, and if he wins the title from Punk at this year's WrestleMania, he'll tie Edge as one of the greatest superstars of all time, holding over 31 championships. So he'll tie Edge. He won't surpass the accomplishments of Edge, but he'll indeed tie him. So a lot could happen with this year's WrestleMania. Over 10 years, we have seen the general manager position be in WWE storylines. It's created a lot of controversy with people like Mike Adamle and Jonathan Coachman and John Laurinaitis here recently donning the role of being the general manager of Monday Night Raw. The Monday Night Raw general manager is the one who creates the majority of the controversy. Theodore Long is someone who gets caught up in controversy, but he doesn't create it. And I don't think he creates enough controversy. I think if he created enough controversy, he would be talked about more than people like Laurinaitis and Mike Adamle, who took the general manager position in 2008 and took it to new heights because there was a lot of controversy with Mike Adamle. If anything, a lot of people were talking about Adamle and how much he used to screw up his lines. He wasn't that entertaining of a Raw general manager, and the position he held in WWE as the general manager didn't last very long. A couple of months. I think shortly after Unforgiven of 2008, he was out of there. And, he really didn't do all that much for WWE as the Raw general manager. More from Mike Adamle could have been done. They could have done so much with it. They could have done so much with a lot of the general managers, but they didn't. And it seems like the only ones they really did a lot with were Eric Bischoff and Theodore Long. And it was funny because Eric Bischoff believed that Theodore Long wasn't going to last as long as he did as the general manager on WWE television. I mean, he lasted for over 8 years. This is his 8th year being the general manager. He's been the general manager on different shows, SmackDown, ECW. His positions has definitely rotated over the last number of years. The only show he hasn't been general manager on has been Monday Night Raw. He's made decisions on Raw and stepped in when need be when the show's unified as a super show each week on Mondays. I think that, when he becomes the Raw general manager, he'll be considered a Grand Slam winner because he's done everything that someone is able to do outside of the ring, except wrestle. We've seen him even wrestle sometimes, not in professional scale matches or anything, but we've seen him wrestle a lot. So I think that Theodore Long definitely can be considered a Grand Slam winner when it comes to a general manager, not only a general manager of every show over the last 8 years, but as a referee, a manager for different competitors like Mark Jindrak, the reflection of perfection. We've seen him manage Mark Henry. We've seen him manage Jazz, both male and female competitors. He's done a lot over 25 years, and in my mind should be a WWE Hall of Famer, and I don't know why he isn't. I suppose when he retires, he will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, a very deserving inductee if the Four Horsemen, Edge, Shawn Michaels can go in as soon as they have. After retiring, I think Theodore Long, when he retires, will go into the WWE Hall of Fame because he's deserving of doing it. When Theodore Long is done, he's definitely very deserving and worthy of a Hall of Fame induction. The Raw General Manager position for Eric Bischoff lasted from 2002 to 2006. He was one of the longest Raw General Managers in history, if not the longest Raw General Manager in history. We have seen him team up with Stone Cold Steve Austin when they had the imbalance of power, and the CEO of the WWE named Stone Cold Steve Austin as the General Manager of Raw. They teamed up for a while. They did a good job together. I think Stone Cold Steve Austin and Eric Bischoff created a lot of chemistry, a lot of great chemistry as the split general managers, the co-general managers of Raw. I think bringing in Stone Cold Steve Austin for the first time a couple of years ago in 2004 at the halfway point for Eric Bischoff really shook things up. And Eric Bischoff created a lot of controversy, and that was the inspiration behind his book, Controversy Creates Cash, where he talked about the NWO, how DX ripped off the NWO. During Eric Bischoff's reign as the Raw General Manager, we saw a lot of stuff happen. The World Heavyweight Championship, originally the WCW title before being rechristened, was brought back on Monday Night Raw after Brock Lesnar left Raw and went to SmackDown with the WWE title. A lot of stuff happened during Eric Bischoff's run. The Elimination Chamber was brought in. We saw a lot of innovative concepts and matches come from Eric Bischoff's run as the WWE Raw General Manager. And I was sad to see him go when he left at the beginning of 2006 after his trial. And, wrestlers were put on trial. Vince McMahon was the judge, making fun of shows like Judge Judy and the People's Court, really, to create a lot of controversy between wrestling and entertainment, I think, was the purpose of that. I'll never forget Eric Bischoff's trial, but I was really disappointed when he left the WWE and the Raw General Manager position was vacated for a number of months. Vince McMahon running Raw for a number of months. It was almost like they had reached a point of uncertainty after having Eric Bischoff be the General Manager for about 4 years. Didn't know who they were going to bring in, and they had a battle royal to name a Raw General Manager, and of course William Regal stepped out of the ring after winning the 2006 King of the Ring tournament. Winning a battle royal, he became the most powerful entity in WWE history as both the King of the Ring and the Raw General Manager, becoming one of the most powerful entities before having a position removed from him. William Regal definitely, changed the course of Monday Night Raw. If anything, he, won the King of the Ring tournament, got out of the ring for a while, became the Raw General Manager, and he used to shut the lights off to get the attention of the fans. He became the first General Manager ever to do something like that, and the anonymous General Manager of Raw ripped it off from Regal, in my opinion, because halfway through the reign of the anonymous General Manager, he used to shut the lights off upon sending messages via email or BlackBerry. So it was really cool to see William Regal as the General Manager of Raw because he was the inspiration behind a lot of things. He made a lot of decisions and a lot of good decisions. And I remember seeing him as the commissioner in the early 90s. He was a really fun guy to watch, William Regal was, no matter if he was a competitor inside of the ring, a general manager, a manager, and he was one of the best general managers in my opinion. One of the worst ones I had here in my notes was Mike Adamle, definitely receiving a lot of criticism from a lot of radio show hosts and columnists. Definitely a lot of people didn't enjoy seeing Mike Adamle as the lead voice of ECW or the Raw General Manager, and his reign as the General Manager of Raw didn't last very long. It lasted a couple of months. One of the final decisions he made, of course, was at the Unforgiven 2008 pay-per-view, and that was to replace somebody in the Raw Scramble match, I believe it was. During the pay-per-view, they had to find a replacement for a wrestler. I forget who it was. Chris Jericho comes in as the replacement after having his ass handed to him previously in the night by Shawn Michaels, becomes the world champion on Monday Night Raw. And that was one of the final decisions that Mike Adamle made before having his job taken from him as a WWE employee by Stephanie McMahon. Following that, Stephanie McMahon and Shane McMahon take over Raw for a number of months. And it didn't last very long for Shane McMahon before he left the company and departed ways with them. We haven't seen Shane McMahon on WWE television. He sold his stock, quit the company, and it's been a while since we've seen him. So maybe he'll be the general manager of Raw in time. Who knows? And become the first McMahon in a while to be on television. For a while there, Stephanie and Shane were acting like Vince McMahon had died when they had the Titantron fall on top of him. They tried to fake his death when they had the limo blow up on June 11, 2007. But they didn't get it done because Benoit had died the week after, and they had to do that 3-hour memorial, of course, when they didn't have very much information on the death of Benoit. Vince McMahon has to come out, reveal himself for the first time since faking his death. And then they tried it again with the Vince McMahon $1 million giveaway each week on Raw, when they would call an unsuspecting fan who had registered via WWE.com, and they had the $1 million giveaway each week. And that was a way of getting Vince McMahon out of the storylines for a while, having the Titantron fall on top of him. And for a while there, as the GM, Stephanie and Shane were making believe that Vince McMahon had died.